So now it's time that we begin talking about EC2 and understand what it is. So what is EC2? So EC2 stands for Elastic Compute Cloud. Okay, so this is how it expands EC into Elastic Compute Cloud. Now it is nothing but a AWS based service for renting virtual servers in the cloud. Okay, so compute in the cloud is what you can say. So if you see Elastic over here, okay, what does Elastic mean? Elastic means it is fully flexible. So you can launch either one server, 1,000 servers, you can increase or decrease the capacity. It is fully elastic. Okay, and it's not like you have to buy this much of capacity only. You can upgrade, downgrade anytime. So it's completely elastic, and that is why it's called elastic. Okay, it gives you full control. So if you want to choose operating system, software, networking, the kind of operating system it runs, so all of that you can configure. There is no issue in doing that. You can install whatever you need. So it's basically like having your own compute or having your own system in the cloud, right? So elastic compute meaning it's basically like your own system, and cloud means it is there in the cloud. Now EC2 these days is being preferred a lot by the organizations, okay, instead of having virtual machines. So what used to happen is if EC2 is not there, the organizations will have to buy on-premises virtual machines, okay, having their own data centers and physical servers at your office, which is not good. So here what AWS has done is they have taken away that headache from organizations wherein they have to have their own servers and everything, right? So organizations can come, they can choose their own, size, CPU, memory, and they can rent servers on demand. On demand meaning they have to pay only for what they use. Like for example, per second, per hour basis, that is what they are being charged. Now, when we talk about EC2, there are few concepts that I want to talk about, okay? And these are the concepts that you will hear a lot. So first concept is instance, okay? Now, what is an instance? An instance is a running virtual server. So when you create your own server using EC2, it is known as instance. Instance is a terminology that is being used. And generally, you will hear people saying that, hey, can you create or launch an instance for this particular project? And when you say launch an instance, it means generally EC2 instance. There is another concept of AMI, which is something you will hear a lot. AMI is nothing but Amazon Machine Image, which is nothing but a pre-built OS along with software template that you can pick when launching an instance. Okay. Also, I would like to highlight that instances that you create are of different types. Okay, you can select the kind of CPU you want to have, RAM you want to have, the network, everything. Okay, so the CPU power and everything you have the option to choose. There is another concept of EBS. What is EBS? EBS stands for Elastic. So one second, Elastic Block Store. Now what is this? So whenever you create a EC2 instance, okay, you would need a storage because you're going to run or host your website on it, right? So EBS is nothing but a persistent block storage that you can attach to an instance, and you can think of it like it behaves like a hard drive, and it basically it helps you save your data. Okay, so these things is something that you will hear very often. So I thought I should give you an overview. Now let me talk about where EC2 instances can be used. Okay, so what I will do is I will simply paste something over here. Okay, so yeah. This is something that you should be aware of. So, okay, so where all EC2 instances can be used? So EC2 instances can be used for hosting apps or APIs. Okay, so if you have a application that you want to host somewhere, you can make use of EC2 instances. And also if you have some backend application ready, which is exposing the APIs, you can make use of EC2 instances. They can be used for running batch jobs, scheduled tasks, or even background workers. So for example, there might be some periodic tasks that you might want to run. You might want to do data processing. You might want to have ETL jobs, scheduled cron jobs, video transcoding, all of this. Okay. So for all of this, you can make use of EC2 instances. Machine learning. Okay. EC2 instances are really helpful in machine learning field as well. When you're doing machine learning, if you want to train an AI model, right? So you can make use of EC2 instances. Also, they can be used to set up dev and test environment. So now what we can do is, since we have understood EC2, what EC2 is, let us head over to our browser and let us try creating an EC2 instance. So here, if you come to the home page, or just type in the search bar EC2, okay, and you will see this service, virtual servers in the cloud. So select this EC2 over here, and you will be taken to this particular page wherein you will be seeing all the EC2 instances. So you can see EC2 instances running. So like I told you, instance is the term associated with a EC2. Okay. So whenever you create an EC2, you can see instances everywhere. Launch EC2 instance or launch an instance. Okay. So instance is nothing but a virtual server. Okay. So there are 0 instances running. If there are any instances running, you will see them running over here. Okay. But I'll come to the dashboard and I'll click on launch instance. Okay. Now you can see over here launch instance. So you can we'll call this instance. We can give it a name. So I'm going to say first instance. Okay. First hyphen instance, like so. Okay. Now if you scroll down here, you will see application and OS images. Now what this means is you can see AMI. So you have to select the AMI basically, which is Amazon machine image, which will contain the operating system, application server, applications for your instance. Okay, let me zoom in a bit so that you can see this much more clearly. Okay, and if you don't see a suitable AMI below, you can search for the OS images, and you can see there are thousands of application and OS images over here. Okay, and for quick start, it is showing you a few options over here, like you can select Amazon Linux, Mac OS, Ubuntu, Windows. You can choose Red Hat or Debian. A lot of information, a lot of options you have. In fact, you can even browse more AMIs. You can see there are tons of options over here. You can see community AMIs. So there are quick start AMIs, okay, which are commonly used. Then there are community AMIs, which are public, okay, and anyone can publish an AMI. So this is that catalog. Okay, there are Amazon Marketplace AMIs as well. You can see. So there are tons of options. Okay, and of course there are few that Amazon also recommends. So you can choose from here the filters and everything, and I hope you're getting a gist of how vast this can be. So what we can do is we can select Ubuntu over here. Okay, I'll choose Ubuntu, and once you select Ubuntu, you are going to see here AMI, and if you click on this, okay, you will see different variations over here. So we'll make sure that we select free tier eligible option over here. Okay, because we don't want to get charged over here. And if you scroll down, you will see the architecture and everything that you can choose over here. Publish date, it's a verified provider. And if you scroll down here now, you have an option to choose your instance type. Okay, instance type meaning what sort of capacity and everything you wish to have. You can click on info and read more. Okay, instance type allows you to select your computing, memory, networking and storage needs. Okay, so based on what sort of computing you wish to have. And if you click on this, you're going to see T2 micro. This is having 1 CPU, 1 gig of memory. Current generation is true, and you can see there. This is everything related to pricing. If you scroll down, there are more powerful ones as well. So you can see this large one wherein you get 8 cores, 8 CPUs, 32 gigs of memory, and some pricing over here. If you scroll down, you have larger ones as well. Okay, so if you want to do some heavy tasks, you can go ahead with this X large, but this will be costly. Okay. This will be costly. So just scroll down. You can explore a bit. Okay. Like you can explore. There are a lot of options here. You can see. Okay. So I'll just select the one that is free tier eligible. Okay. Because if I select something else here, if you scroll down, you're going to see the cost details. Okay. Somewhere over here. Okay. It's not showing me cost details over here. I don't know why. So earlier what used to happen is whatever I used to select, it used to show me cost details. So if I select this, let me see if it shows cost details. No, it's not showing me. So maybe they have updated this, but I'll select free tier eligible over here. Okay, so make sure you do that. Key pair login. Okay, so here you will see proceed without key pair is not recommended. Okay, so it is recommended you can create a key pair over here. That is what is recommended. Now, what is a key pair? Key pair is basically a way that allows you to connect securely to your instance. Now, if you want to learn more about key pair, I have this article from Amazon open over here. This is from the documentation itself, and it says a key pair consists of public key and private key. Okay, and this public key and private key acts as a security credential that you can use to prove your identity when connecting to Amazon EC2 instance. Okay, so understand this. You have this computer. This is your computer. You have this EC2 instance hosted somewhere, right? You want to connect to the EC2 instance from your terminal. How are you going to connect? Of course, entering username password is not a right way. So you get this key pair that you can save on your machine, and using this key pair, you're proving your identity. Okay, and that is how you are authenticated. So that is something you can do. And what I will do is I'll create a key pair. So I'll say create a key pair. You can enter the key pair name over here. Now here, what you need to do is you need to enter the key pair name. So you can say my EC2 key over here. Okay, and you can select RSA over here, and private key format over here. You can see .pem is the extension for OpenSSH, and .ppk is being used for PuTTY. So if you have PuTTY, or if you're making use of PuTTY, you can select ppk. If you're on Windows or Mac and plan to use either PowerShell or inbuilt Mac terminal, then I'll select PEM, and I'll say create a pair. Now, once we click create a key pair, we will be prompted for downloading the key pair. And what will happen is we'll have to save it at a secure place on our system. So I'll just click this. So I've saved the file on my local machine. Now what I need to do is, if you scroll down here, you will have network related settings. So I'm not making any sort of changes over here. Okay, I'll just keep it like this. And you can see this option over here, allow SSH traffic from anywhere. Okay, so this helps connect to your instance. If you want to be more secure, you can basically select my IP over here. So SSH traffic, SSH meaning from the command line, that traffic will be only allowed from your IP, or you can give some custom rule over here, or you can say anywhere. So depending on your requirement, you can select these checkboxes as well. Now if you scroll down, there is an option to configure your storage. I'm not doing this, okay, because I think 8 gigs is more than enough for me to learn over here. And you can see here on the right hand side, you have all the summary, and here you have some free tier related information here, right? Now with this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say launch the instance. Okay, there is an option to preview the code as well. Okay, so you can preview the code over here. Okay, so you can see. So this is the CLI command basically that it is showing us. Okay, everything to create the security group, to do everything, to run the instances. I'll close this preview, and I'll just close this, and I'll say launch instance. Okay, so it'll take some time for instance to be created. Okay, we'll hang in there. Okay, it says success initiating the launch. So if you go to instances over here, okay, if you go to instances, you will see that the instance state is pending. Okay, and this is our first instance. This is the instance ID, and you have all this information. So this is public IP v4, and here you are going to see all the information over here. Okay, so we'll wait until this instance state changes. Okay, so after a while, I just hit refresh over here. This is a refresh button, or you can refresh the entire page, and I could see over here that I have my instance up and running. Okay, you can see over here running is the state, and if you scroll towards the right, you will also see tons of information, and I also have the instance public IP over here. Okay, now what we need to do is you must have saved the key basically which you got from Amazon when creating the EC2 instance. You must have saved it securely to a place on your system. Now to connect to an EC2 instance on Windows, what I would recommend is you make use of a tool called bash over here, git bash. Okay, so this is git bash that I have installed, and it allows us to execute commands over here. With git bash, you can easily run commands like SSH. Okay, and it's very easy. See, you have PowerShell and Windows inbuilt terminal. But if you're on Windows, I would recommend making use of git bash, because for PowerShell there is some additional configuration if SSH command does not work, and it could be a little bit overwhelming for the beginners. So what I recommend is you head over to Google, you search for git bash installation, and here you can see it comes. You can navigate for git for Windows. You can navigate to this website, git for Windows, and you can run this installer. Okay, and then on Windows startup menu, you can simply search for git bash, and this sort of terminal will open like you see behind. Okay, so go over here and just install it. Okay, that is what I mean. So git for Windows is this one. Okay, so you just install it, and you will get this git bash over here. You can see git bash. Okay, so it's a bash emulation used to run git from command line. Okay, so you can run it like you are making use of Linux or Unix based environment. So I would recommend installing this because it's simpler to set up and it gets you quickly up to speed. All right. Now here, what you would do is, so if you are on Windows, I recommend git bash. If you are on Mac or Linux, I recommend using the inbuilt terminal over here. Okay. And also from your terminal, make use of cd command and navigate to the directory where you have your PEM file saved. Okay. So for example, if you have it in AWS folder, just navigate to that folder. And if you say pwd, you will notice that I'm in this directory over here. Okay. I'm in E drive, and within E drive, I'm in AWS folder. So navigate to this directory. Okay. Now, if you say ls, you will see that I have this my EC2 key.pem over here. All right. So we have this key over here. Now, what we need to do is we need to make use of this key to connect to the remote EC2 instance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say SSH over here. I'm going to say -I. Okay. And I'm going to add my key name. So my EC2 key.pem. So I wrote my and then I pressed tab. So it auto populated the entire file name because the file is in the same folder. Okay. And then I'll have to make use of the syntax. I'll have to say user over here, user @IP. Now this IP is the public IP of our instance. Okay. Now have we created a user for our instance? Not really, but we get a default user. So you remember when creating the instance, I had selected Ubuntu, right? So when you install Ubuntu, you get one default user, which is Ubuntu over here. Okay. So I'm selecting that over here. If you have selected some other operating system, basically you will have to go ahead with the users, default users for those. Like for example, on Amazon Linux, you will have EC2-user as the default user. On CentOS, you will have CentOS as the default user. Okay, so you have to choose appropriately. I've used Ubuntu over here, and now what I will do is I'll come over here, and here, when my instance was created, you will see something called as public IP4 address. So just copy this public IP4 address, and we'll need to add the IP over here. Okay, so just add that, paste. Oops, so it did not get copied properly. Okay, so I have my command ready over here along with the public IP. I've added all the details and I'll just press enter. Now it's likely that, okay, we did not get any sort of error over here. Okay, the authenticity of host cannot be established. This is, this key is, are you sure you want to continue connecting? I'll say yes over here. Okay, permanently adding this to our host, and you can see I have connected now. I've connected now. You can see Ubuntu @IP. Okay, so I'm logged into my instance. Now I'll tell you something on Mac and Linux. There is a possibility that learners might face an issue wherein they are not able to, run, or they're not able to make use of this key, and they might face permission issues. So in that case, what you need to do is I'll tell you a command that you can make use of. So here, let me say, so you will have to make use of the command chmod 400, and you'll have to add the key name over here. Okay, so whatever is the key name, so key name .pem file. So use this command if you are on Mac or Linux. Okay, this command will be important to fix the permission and allow it to allow your terminal to make use of the PM file. So that is something you can make use of, and once you are done, you will be able to connect it in the same way. Since I'm on Windows, I did not face that issue. Okay, now we can say pwd meaning present working directory. So in which directory on instance we are on? So we are in home Ubuntu. I can say ls to see what all is there in this directory, and you can see there is nothing in the directory. Now what you can also do is you can come over here to your AWS instance. Okay, and scroll right, go inside the instance. Okay, here you will see this option to connect. Can you see this option to connect? So click on this option, and you can see over here there are multiple ways to connect. So EC2 Instance connect, this is one way. Okay, connect using the public IP, and here you can see the default username is already populated. Okay, so that is done. You can connect using Session Manager. Okay, so Session Manager is a feature of AWS System Manager which provides a way for us to connect to our instances. Okay, so that is something we can use SSH client. So we connected right now, and we made use of SSH client over here. Okay, and you can see all the instructions over here as well. You can see all the instructions, right? So you can run this command. So this was the command to fix the permission if your key is not publicly viewable. Okay, so this was the command that I had shown you. So you can copy the command from here as well. You can connect to your instance using the public DNS. So this is the entire DNS. Okay, you can make use of this or the public IP. That is something that you can make use of. And here you can see this command. Okay, rather than typing in everything, you can just copy it from here and you can connect it. Okay, so this is using SSH EC2 serial console. Okay, so this account is not authorized to make use of the EC2 serial control console. So what I would do is I would say manage access, and here I would say allow. Okay, and I would say update. Okay, we encountered an unexpected error over here. Okay, what is happening? So this is not allowed. Maybe some issue with the permission over here. So after enabling, now it's showing that this instance type is not supported. Okay, for EC2 serial console. That's completely okay. Okay, all right. But I've shown you how you can connect. Okay, these are the multiple ways in which you can connect over here. And EC2 instance connect is also something you can use. So I'll say a public IP, a username is selected over here, and I'll say connect. Okay. The moment you say connect, let us see how this works. So you can see here the connection is being established. Okay. And in a while, you will see terminal like interface over here. Right. So you can see. Right. So ls is what you can do. And you can also say present working directory. So you are in Ubuntu. So if you want to do some quick troubleshooting or something like that, all right, you can make use of this approach. This is very fast, and you don't need to do any sort of local setup and all. All right. So I've shown you major ways in which you can connect to the to the EC2 instance. Okay. One is EC2 instance connect. It connects and shows you a terminal-like interface in the browser itself, as you can see. Sessions manager is one way. SSH client is what we have seen. Okay. You have some access to ready-made command over here. So you can make use of these commands, and you can run this, right? So I hope this has been useful, and I hope you all have been able to follow along.